Hey friends, and welcome back to r/EntitledPeople. We got some more Reddit posts to check out today, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get into it, guys. Won't leave? Okay. Hope you don't mind no power and being arrested. So I work at a small motel. We have 30 to 40 rooms available, and normally work the night shift. The last couple days I've been working the day shift, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. while a coworker is out sick. 2 days ago I checked in a couple for a night. Everything goes smoothly. Yesterday they paid for an additional night. All good, people do that here frequently. And we had a storm moving in, so I think they didn't want to travel in the snow. However, yesterday the red flag started when myself and our maintenance man noticed someone trying to get into the room with a key. It wouldn't work because the room had been deadbolted from the inside. I didn't think anything of it, but our maintenance guy came in the office later and said he's seen at least 3 people go in and out of the room, all different from the person whose name is on the room. Okay, there could be a simple explanation, but I'm starting to lean towards drug use in my head. Fast forward to this morning. The guest who was in the room next door comes to the front desk right at 9 a.m., visibly exhausted, saying that the couple in the room next door had woken him up at 6 that morning with a screaming argument. I apologized profusely and agreed to give him a late checkout so he could get a few more hours of sleep. He was actually very reasonable about the incident, and more of the I can't believe people wouldn't have the common courtesy in a motel kind of attitude. Once he left to go back to his room, I put a note on the other room that their stay would not be extended, and they would be checking out that day. The day gets started and I'm checking people out and extending stays where requested, staying consistently busy the whole time. So I don't even realize until noon that the guests of the room in question have neither checked out nor come to pay for an additional day. They would have checked out with the front desk as they had left a cash deposit for incidentals and such, and rarely is a person going to walk out on cash money. So I call the number for the guest and let him know that the checkout time has passed, and he will need to vacate the room and come check out. He assured me he would within 15 minutes. I know, don't get ahead of me. Time passes and he does not come down. Due to some smaller issues that cropped up, about 35 minutes ended up passing. I tried calling the guest again. This time, no answer. They also will not answer the door for our housekeeper. When he knocked on the door, he was greeted with silence, and because they had deadbolted the door, our master keys wouldn't open the door. At this point, I was frustrated, but there wasn't much I could do. For those of you wondering, at this point, I was by myself at the front desk, because the GM is out sick with COVID, so yeah. I did what I could do though, and called the non-emergency police number. I explained the situation and they sent an officer on over. The officer went with me to the room, did the police knock with announcement. Silence from the room. There was no movement of the drapes, and with them closed, we could not see evidence of anyone being present or absent. The police officer was apologetic to the cause, but let me know that without a known emergency, there really wasn't anything he could do. He did tell me that we were certainly within our rights to remove them from the property, and he would be willing to come back to supervise while we broke through the door, if we decided to go that route. He then left. It is now just after 1 p.m. Since the guest was not answering the phone and not really sure what else to do, since we did not want to have to break down the door, I tried sending a text message to the guest's phone from our office cell phone. It was short and sweet. Sir, this is Hotel XYZ. I am verifying that you have left the hotel and checked out. I honestly did not expect a reply. Imagine my surprise when a few minutes later a reply came back. It was even shorter than mine. Thumbs up emoji. I took this to mean that they either had already left or they would be leaving shortly. I was wrong. While helping another guest at approximately 4:30, I happened to see someone who was not one of the 2 people who had originally rented the room peek their head out of the room, as if to check if the coast was clear. As soon as he saw me, he ducked back into the room. I was now very frustrated, but at least we had confirmation that they were still there. Not sure what to do, the maintenance man and I put our heads together. He said he had a crowbar and was willing to break in with the police here. So I sent the following text message. I just saw someone poke their head out of the room, which you said you had vacated. You have 30 minutes to leave. If you are not gone, we will be calling the police back and breaking into the room. There was no immediate response. We contacted the police, but we were told it would be a bit, since this was a non-emergency and they didn't have officers available at the moment. They would, however, dispatch one as soon as someone was available. Yay small towns with small police forces. Anyway, maintenance man didn't want to try breaking in without the police there, so we had to wait. So much for an ultimatum, because they certainly did not leave by 5. Anyway, I was finally able to get a hold of our GM, and briefly explain the situation to him while apologizing for disturbing his rest and recovery. He was not in favor of breaking the door, because then you have to replace it. Money. But he did give us an ingenious option. Provided there were no pregnant women or children in the room, of which there were neither. Turn off the power to the room. Such a great idea, especially since at that time, it was 32 degrees Fahrenheit and dropping. So maintenance man goes to do just that. At approximately the same time, a girl comes up to me at the desk, asking to extend the stay on her sister's room another night, cash in hand, and tells me the room number. Lo and behold, it's our troublemakers. I let her know that not only was I not doing that, but that we had been trying to get rid of them all day, and they would not answer the door. She said, "Well, that explains why they sent me up here with the money," and then heads back to pass along my message. That is about the time that the maintenance man cuts the power to the room. He then went to the room and yelled at them through the door, letting them know that the power would remain off until they left, and if they were still there when the police arrived, we would be pressing charges for trespassing. Wouldn't you know it? Suddenly, the door opened and people started leaving. Just about that time, I got a text message back from the registered guest, saying, "I am not in that room. I left the keys on the dresser." I responded very professionally in my opinion with, "You may have left and not be in the room, but with it in your name, you are responsible for everybody else that was in the room, all of whom refused to vacate. Your name has been placed on the do not rent list for the future." It still took about 45 minutes before everybody who was in the room finally got packed up and left, before the police arrived, dang it. While they left a definite mess in the room, I was just glad to finally get them out of there. It was not until the maintenance man had finally gotten into the room that he recognized some of the other people in the room, all of whom had been problem guests that had been removed on prior incidences, mostly due to drug use. They had apparently been trading around who would check into the room to hide that it was the same group. Well, based on the number we saw and the number of people the maintenance man recognized, they've hopefully run out of unknown people with IDs to check into the rooms. I'm ready to go back to my nice and quiet night shift, please. Entitled head nurse with a taser. I was admitted into the hospital a few weeks back on the observation ward for a night after having a transient seizure. I'm directly across from the nurses' station with a soundproof curtain as my door. It started out bad as night nurses made their changeovers. I was given the wrong nurse who kept insisting I had a heart attack and that I was given nitro as I was brought in by ambulance. Explaining that she had the wrong patient, she ignored me, continuing with her checkup on me as a heart patient. Arguing with her that I was not her patient, she decided to look at my wristband. "You're not Laura." "No, I'm not." Except for the regular nurses talking too loud, things were fine until about 11:30 p.m. Shouting and pounding started coming from another patient's room, patient 1, with what was thought to be a Buddhist priest visiting and removing demons from this patient. The nurses allowed it for a while because of religious reasons, until they found out it was just a friend visiting with a very loud story. Head nurse finally kicked the friend out, making patient 1 extremely angry. He then got on the hospital house phone complaining loudly in English about how badly he's being treated. It's now about midnight. The head nurse and him argue over being quiet, as head nurse unplugs his phone from the wall, taking it away. Not to be told what to do, patient 1 continues on his cell phone to finish his complaining, keeping us all awake. Head nurse then blocks his number from outgoing calls for the night, so the rest of us can sleep. Angry at this and the fact that a woman was telling him what to do, patient 1 decides to rush the head nurse, who threatens him with a taser. After almost an hour, patient 1 says he's walking out because he won't be treated like this. As security walks the unruly man out, head nurse is all proud of herself, repeating the story as loud as possible, so we can all relive her glory minutes. Let me say during this time calls were flooding into the nurse's station for quiet, so we could all sleep. Having enough of his not being heard, patient 2, 70, walks to the nurse's station to sternly remind her this is a hospital, and she's a nurse. This did not sit well with head nurse, who knew what and where she was. That and he was interrupting her story. She started screaming at him to get back into bed, as if he were a little kid. She then proceeded to raise his bed up all the way and locking the rails, basically trying to imprison him. Now she's really proud of herself. Are we quiet now? She yells from the nurse's station. Nighty-night, sweet dreams, she yells, laughing. Now she has another story to relive for us to hear, all from her righteous position of how she controlled her floor. Getting out of bed, patient 2 walks back to the nurse's station angry, tired, and not feeling well, but in no way a threat. He was just trying to get all our points across. Unfortunately, at this point, the head nurse cares nothing about the patients, just that she was in charge. Instead of calming him down, she threatens to tase him if he didn't get back to bed. Patient 2 is still trying to get his point across. Suddenly, we hear him flail against the glass doors as she tases him 3 times. Not once, not twice, 3 effing times. No security called and no real threat. She was on a mission to prove her control. This just added on to her story time for us all to relive through her eyes. As ER came up to put him on a stretcher, she was asked why he was tased. He was a nuisance. It's now about 1:15 a.m. and the police are there for an incident report, giving her fresh meat to loudly tell how she kept us unruly patients in line. As this happens, Nurse 2 pipes up to argue head nurse's version of the events. She was not innocent. Now there is shouting between the 2 nurses as to how it all really went down. Just in case anyone forgot, this is a hospital with all of us there for a reason. As the police question patients about what happened, head nurse and nurse 2 are in a huge non-negotiable argument over what really happened. Buzzers going off from every patient's room for them to be quiet, to no avail. A woman next to me, patient 3, 67, rang 2 times to quiet them down, frustrated that she got nowhere. Her third ring was to get help to the bathroom. Nurse 3 enters her room. You don't have to go to the bathroom. Yes, I do. I have to go or I'll pee the bed. Then pee the bed. You don't really have to go. You just want to make trouble at the nurse's station. Patient 3 tries to go to the bathroom by herself. I'm going to the bathroom, she says. That's when Nurse 3 remembers he too had a taser. You leave this room and I'll tase you. It was the Wild West, I tell you. Patient 3 left against medical advice. Who wants to stay if they are going to get tased going to the bathroom? This was not safe anymore. Patient 4, 80, a heart patient, was an Italian lady who wanted to leave. She had enough. It's now almost 4 a.m. and we are all begging for rest. FYI, everyone stated their ages when complaining about the noise, hoping staff would understand a reason for it to be quiet. As she started dressing to leave AMA, Nurse 4, who spoke Italian, comforted her in her native language, begging her not to leave. She was sick, and he was personally afraid she would owe money to the hospital she didn't have. Calming her down, Nurse 4 went back, telling the head nurse what he talked to Patient 4 about. Now, I'm not sure if Nurse 4 forgot Patient 4 could speak English, but that patient went ballistic when she heard him say, I told her she was crazy to leave. From how I heard him say it, he didn't mean it in a bad way, just reiterating what happened. But I understood the woman's frustration completely. As Nurse 4 tried again to calm the situation down, head nurse entered the room and told Patient 4, to leave my hospital now. Now. You are waking all the patients here. This is a hospital. That head nurse was delusional if she thought the patients were keeping us awake. No, I'm sorry. No, please, you should stay. Just leave my hospital, as if she owned it, throwing this woman out for disrupting the other patients. Patient 4 called an Uber and left. It's almost 5 a.m. It's been quiet until Nurse 4 asks the head nurse to sign his incident report as to why Patient 4 left. Mind you, it has been a long night for all of us, as yelling carried over from one disaster to another. I won't sign this, said the head nurse. It's what happened. You told her to leave, said Nurse 4. But I'm not signing that with that written in there. If you don't sign this, I will quit. So if I sign this, you'll resign? Right this minute. It's the least I could do for that patient to make this right. Promise? Said the head nurse. The head nurse signed the incident report, and Nurse 4 quit right then. It was a night from hell. 6:30 a.m. came and I was brought to heart medicine. They still had the wrong patient, and they thought I was going to stay another night. This has seriously affected me. I had my PTSD under control and never realized stuff like this would make it go crazy. I wrote this in hopes that if I talk about it, it will be better. I did write the hospital about this, but got no response. I wish I could find out how this is ending for the hospital, because it isn't going to be pretty. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for more, and I'll see you all next time.